somebody new, yay! Okay, here we go. We're now jumping into round 2. The candidates are going to have 2 minutes to talk about one of those priorities that they didn't draw, maybe the one they did draw. They want to go 2 more minutes, I don't know. But they'll get to talk about the one they choose this time, not the one they randomly drew. They'll have 2 minutes. We don't have that pre-slide that says, here it is, the thing we're talking about. They're going to announce it for you. And then there will be the slide that says, vote now. So you'll have that going. Again, we're going to start with Chaz on the far right. When he's ready. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right.
2 minutes. So it turns out that a lot of us, and I'm sorry I'm going first because Carl also wanted to do this, create a boulevard feel. I've been a huge fan of the Delridge Visioning Project for years and years and years. What I would like to see is I would like to see a Delridge which is boulevarded much like it is around Brandon with the Esplanade down the middle. I would like to see Brandon itself turned into its own green street with connections to both Cottage Grove and Greg Davis and the back door of Camp Long. I would love to see a continuation all the way to the back door of Camp Long with a new gate that basically tells people that, hey, you can get from here to 35th because people don't go in Camp Long because they think it's a one-way entrance. And I would like to see a staircase and bikeway up Snake Hill. We proposed that several years ago. That would go a really long way in integrating the east-west component of Delridge. And further south, I would like to see a little, perhaps more urban park in the Cambridge little triangle area there. We have a lot of public right-of-way space that could be turned into much better use with more active space and more integration and a better direction towards White Center in one direction and Westwood in the other. So starting at the bridge, you would have pretty much an esplanaded boulevard the whole way down. As we went by Bourne School, you could expand both sides of that green space there. It's about a quarter mile where you could actually have park-like environment on both sides. So in my mind, I think the boulevard feel is something that could be easily accomplished. We know how much it costs to do the paving at the south end. It's not really that expensive, and the greenery we could coordinate with SDOT, with Seattle City Light owns that right away up the hill. There's lots of ways that we could spread this out, and frankly, it would change the equation here in Delridge, and I would love to see that. And I bike Delridge, I walk Delridge. I would like to see that happen.
All right. Thank you, Chaz. Ta-da! The survey says. And votes in. All right. It's a strong response.
We all want Delridge to be beautiful.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. All right. Moving on to Carl.
Great. I'm actually going to be going back to question 1 a little bit to expand. It was the strengthen the trust relationship with local government and its many layers and agencies. Specifically, I wanted to focus on one of the biggest needs for expanding trust and growing how people view their government is our law enforcement. We are in the middle of a really big moment nationally where households across the country for the past few months have been talking about all kinds of very difficult subjects in Ferguson, New York City, North Charleston, where issues of militarized police and racial discrimination in police forces and just the very nature of how we interact with our police officers in our community. And this moment to me is such a great opportunity to completely break up how we operate our police forces. I'm a big believer in law enforcement. I think it's one of the most foundational sort of services in any community. And I know that our relationship in Delridge specifically, this is an area where we have a lot of work to do. And the other day I was really sort of struck to find out that Seattle doesn't have its own police academy. And police training for cities across the state, to me, is so fundamentally different than what it is to learn to be a police officer here in Seattle, and specifically here in Delridge. And I think that having an academy would give us a chance to recruit from new areas, recruit from right here in Delridge, recruit from all sorts of diverse groups, and we could shift the focus here away from really enforcing and putting more of a focus on being community ambassadors, where you're the front line, where you're on the street, you're unarmed as much as possible, you are just part of the community, you are representatives of the community, and you're really neighbors. And I think that's just a huge opportunity to strengthen our relationship there.
All right. Thank you, Carl. And select. And there we go. All right. I feel like I should say questions, but I'm not going to do that. So. Jody, are you ready?
Absolutely.
Okay. A domestic interlude.
I am ready, Matt.
Go for it.
Thank you, sir. So I wanted to talk a little bit about strengthening schools. You know, sometimes on the campaign trail, we do a lot of these things. We've been spending a lot of time together as candidates. And sometimes you wonder, are the things or your thoughts, ideas, are they resonating with the voters? And I will say, it's refreshing to know that if nothing else, my ideas about schools are definitely resonating with Mr. Talbot. A lot of those ideas that he pitched are the same ideas that I've been talking about along this campaign trail. And that is, strengthening our schools really starts and stops with putting money into the facilities right now. Our legislation has been dragging their feet, to say the least, to fix our school issues in the city. You wonder why we have unemployment issues on Delridge. You wonder why we have public safety issues on Delridge. You wonder why it's as easy to buy crack at the deli on the corner as it is to buy a sandwich on Delridge. Where did all these young men come from, many of them of color, that seem to be selling crack as opposed to going out and getting gainful employment in the world? Our education system plays a tremendous part in that. When you have class sizes of 40 students, 35 students, you're not going to win like that. We should all be embarrassed of the state of our schools. I just did a grad night volunteer work at Chief Self last weekend. I worked at Denny. I worked at Concord Elementary School in South Park. And the things that our teachers are facing today it's scary. And so we need to find a way to get money into our schools now. I think the best way to do that is to strike up public-private partnerships with businesses in our community. I believe that businesses here want to invest in our kids, and I think that the best way that we can get money in now is to do that. I'm tired, frankly, as a voter, as a taxpayer, I'm tired of the solution to fixing our schools continuing to be levies and new taxes. I think someone needs to dive into our budget and to find out where the money that we're spending on schools is going now. We need to funnel that money back into the important parts of our educational system. Should I be elected, I'll fight to do that. Thank you.
All right. Oh, wow. Go, go!
You need a straight shirt, Matt.
What's that?
You need a straight shirt.
Yeah, right, and a cane with a little hat?
No, I meant more like umpire.
Oh, I like the cane. Yeah.
Don't go there.
All right, survey says. Okay. Good. This is fascinating. I don't know about you guys, but I'm enjoying yourself. All right, Lisa?
Yeah.
Are you ready?
Yes, I am ready. Thank you. I want to ask a question about fostering business associations. So, in Seattle, from 2012 to 2013, we had the very large growth. We're the fastest growing city in the country during that year. We had an additional 16,000 people move here. But since 2005, we've only added about 30,000 jobs. So it's pretty clear that we need to do more to foster economic activity and particularly living wage jobs. A study came out about a week ago that shows that it's going to take about $27 an hour to afford a median-priced apartment in the city. So it's not just about jobs, it's about good jobs. We have a really thriving business association working here in District 1. I think it might be time to look at having sort of more neighborhood-specific business associations as well. Delridge could use one of its own. We also need to foster strategic relationships with both labor and large employers. So with labor, so that we're making sure that we're supporting apprenticeship programs so that people are entering the workforce ready to do the jobs that are needed. And with large partners, large employers, so that we can make sure that the folks that are going to those jobs are supported with degree programs at schools such as South Community College or South Seattle College, and other things to make sure our workforce is ready. And then finally, we need to actually talk to the businesses to identify their needs and figure out really how we can best support their activity in the district.
Great. All right, thank you. Ta-da! Okay, here we go. Let's see. Survey set. No, not you. All right, survey says. Okay. Strong middle, leaning right. Let's your own. Are you ready? All right, do your thing.
I want to talk a little bit about the strengthening schools as well. The schools are made up of children and families, and we think of those families and their children. I wanted to speak a little bit about an example. I was talking to a family the other day in South Park, where the father and the mother came and they had this child that had some problems, needed to do some program before, because the court mandated that he needed to do. And we started talking to the family and they said, well, this is the least of our problems. We have another one that doesn't even come home. We have two daughters with children that are living at home that, they're not even washing the dishes at home. And I was thinking, what's wrong? This looked like a very good family. Our father was working, mother was working. What went wrong there? And, you think about, in terms of immigrants, I was listening to a situation about immigrants where 2040, some of the minority will be majorities. Those are the kids that are going to be the future of this country. Those are going to be the future taxpayers. Those are the children that we going to depend on. They are going to be the future labor force. And what are we doing to prepare for the children? We have amongst Hispanic Latinos that say, okay, the fastest way to reach the middle class is to get legal status in the country. How many of those families have it or don't have it? And, we're still playing with Social Security numbers that are not real Social Security numbers. We're still afraid of police to stop us because they're going to ask for an ID that we don't have. And, thank God we have a city that is very open-minded around those things. So, I'm there.
All right. And ta-da! Survey says. Okay. On to Shannon. Are you ready?
Well, I am. I think I too will discuss strengthening the schools, but I'm going to talk about it from a little bit of a different perspective. I have
public schools. And one of the things I reflect on a regular basis is that the moment my kids start school, they're well ahead, frankly, of a lot of other kids by virtue of a strong family and community. And I use family loosely because to me a family is made up of all of that village that supports all of us as we get through our day-to-day, especially those of us with kids and parents that we're helping to be responsible for. So to me, strengthening in schools, while it's important to fund and support our teachers and have resources in the schools, to me it's not really about the building itself. It's about strengthening the community around that building and providing a safe environment. So here in Delridge, for example, I know the Seattle Police Chief was at Denny South a couple of weeks ago. The youth ambassadors met with her from the school to talk about safety because they are concerned about being mugged on their way to school or other issues related to their safety. And the Seattle Police Department is now following up with them with some action items. They are providing them a sense of security, which provides families then with a sense of security. To me, that strengthens our schools. Having a camera, a speed camera, so that people are driving at safe speeds so that families who are able to walk to school can do that, helps to build a community and build a strong school. So if I know I can safely walk my child or my child can walk with their friends to get to their school, they're going to be building a community. They're going to meet their neighbors. They're going to know what's going on around them. They're going to report back to their teachers. They're going to report back to me. That, to me, is one of the biggest ways we build the strong schools is through community engagement. And here in Delridge, I think, again, we have a great opportunity to do that work. The city is moving forward on public safety issues. They're moving forward on safer sidewalks and transportation issues. That is work as a city council member that I would be excited to be engaged in to try to build better resources for our families and communities as they're headed into school.
Great. Good job. Ta-da! Survey says strong on the right.
Delridge all the way.
Delridge all the way.
Heart I have a bumper sticker now.
Philip,
Yes,
are you ready?
I am ready.
Let's do this.
So I'm taking question number 2, the create and promote a Delridge neighborhood and community identity. Obviously in 2 minutes it's hard to really get to a lot of that, but there are 2 things that I really would focus on. One is sort of the cultural elements in Delridge, that you have cultures from all over the world represented in Delridge. So one of the things that I would think would be great is to really play on that. You know, have Delridge Days expand into being something that's more culturally relevant, that you've got people from all of the different cultures here represented, bringing things like art and other things and food together so people can really feel in District 1 that kind of Delridge is the heart of the, you know, the world flavor of District 1. With that, I had a friend who had a soccer tournament called the All Nations Cup. We've got an amazing park here with multiple soccer fields on it. Bring that back. Have soccer teams that are people from all sorts of different cultures competing out here together and promote the incredible park you've got, promote the cultural identity of having people from all over the world. The other thing I think that would be great would be to actually look at the fact that there's a food desert here and turn that into a positive. Expand the number of pea patches, put together a farmer's market that's in conjunction with the food co-op, maybe offer a shuttle that goes to all different parts of Delridge and brings people to that, and something that becomes, you know, it was a problem, but maybe try to feature it. Find some ways to actually make nutrition and health and naturally grown foods and locally grown foods and locally made food products a big part of Delridge. And I think also utilizing this building here, something I did in the Rainier Valley with Rainier Valley Cultural Center, is I helped sponsor programs where they brought world culture all together in a building where you'd have, you know, someone from East Africa come with food and music and movies. Do the same thing here. You've got a wonderful resource. There's a lot more things to do. An art project across the walkway over Delridge that basically lets people know you're entering Delridge, and maybe new street lights, things like that. Promote the community.
Thank you, Philip. Ta-da! Votes in. Survey says. Huh? All right. Are these going to be